I'm Annabel Cartwright. I'm a reader at School of Physics and Astronomy, and I'm very much involved with the teaching in School of Physics and Astronomy, and in particular I'm going to be talking today about a problem-based learning module that I've developed called Synoptic Physics. This course is a problem-based learning course. It's compulsory, all students have to do it. It was developed to try to improve our embedding of employability skills within the degree, so teamwork, communication, problem solving. It has been much greater, it's been a much greater success than we anticipated, not only in achieving those aims, but also really helping the students to engage with the physics degree. Well, we have a requirement in the QAA standard for our subject and also our professional standards that we have to address communication skills, problem-based learning. We've got to make sure that they're aware of commercial aspects of physics. There are a whole list of different requirements, and those weren't really being specifically addressed within our degree. We had attempts in previous years at doing team-based problem solving. Those courses were unpopular. The students didn't enjoy them, the staff hated teaching them, and you had all sorts of problems with students working in teams. It just didn't work very well. So I was asked to really look at the whole thing again and come up with a new approach. Right. I'd been to quite a few workshops, particularly through the STEM programme about problem-based learning. So I already had a good idea about things that worked, and also I talked to colleagues in other schools, and I came to the decision that the problem with team-based approach is that if the students go away and have to then meet up outside the classroom and do work offline, as it were, that's when you get the problems arising with some people not pulling their weight, not turning up. And with the advances in technology, we are now able to actually do this sort of thing in real time. And I don't know if it was just sort of The Apprentice or something like that, that kind of vibe of saying, right, you've got till 5 o'clock to do something, to introduce a bit of excitement, that I thought that would invigorate the whole course. So I decided, instead of having a big project that students worked on over many weeks, that you had this problem of students drifting away, and also perhaps it wouldn't be particularly interesting, I decided to do 9 quick-fire problems over the term, 1 a week, and the students do it in real time. So they're given the problem at 2:30, and they have to give me a solution to the problem, a written solution that they've come up with in real time. And they do all of their research online, they communicate with each other online, they use online calculators, and they also write one document with 4 of them working on it at once using Google Drive or something, so you can see them all typing on the same document at the same time. And it really does introduce this sense of excitement. There's a bit of competition going on, and you know, sometimes I say it's 4:45, you know, where is it? And then when it's 5 o'clock, it's like, right, you're all fired, you know, where is it? I want it now. And they enjoy that, and the fact that they've got to do it in real time means that they can't hide. Everybody has to work, everybody has to join in, they have to divide the problem up and get on and get cracking. They have to start, they can't put it off. And it's just been a real success. So I think that deciding to put it in real time worked, and I was very relieved that it did, but it works. And the other thing I decided to really make a point of doing was to come up with problems that have a content that is interesting and exciting and that the students can relate to. So I've chosen problems that cover the whole curriculum. Every problem has at least 2 components that come from different areas. So it's not just, oh, this is a problem that might come, it's thermal physics. You know, it's a bit of electricity and it's a bit of thermal physics. It draws information from everywhere. And then I have people from local businesses, I have a couple of our researchers, local problems like, for example, the Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon that are in the news and local. Everything has some kind of local connection with the students, and they can imagine really doing it for real, and in many cases they will meet the person who's doing it for real. And it, as well as challenging them, and there's real physics in these problems, they're quite hard, it makes them imagine what it's like to do the job and use their physics to actually solve real world problems. And that's been a terrific success as well. One of the elements that I did introduce to this course was to ask the students at the end to reflect on the course, and this was something that certainly my physics students had never been asked to do before, and they were very taken aback at being asked to reflect. But that has been very interesting to read their reflections at the end of the course about how they have developed as professional people, how their team acted and what was their role within the team, how they could have done better if they did it again, and really to think about, and I think it really makes them appreciate how far they've come and what they've learned. And they say things like, I feel more like a physicist and less like a student for doing this course, and it's opened my eyes to all of the different things I could be doing with my physics. So they really appreciate this sense of having engaged with their subject and seen how you can use it outside. So many of them have also told me they've used examples from this synoptic physics course when they're in interview situations, when they're asked to give an example of being in a team when you've got a problem to solve, and they've got 9 examples now of doing this. So it really helps them to learn what it's like to be in a team, sorting out a problem, and that you need to listen to each other. You've got to give everyone a chance to say what they think, and then you've got to divide the work up and keep talking to each other. So tremendously positive feedback. Every year we've been running it. We've been running it for 4 years now, and it's been very well appreciated every year. And I think there probably are 1 or 2 students every year who don't really do an awful lot, but they turn up and they get more out of it than most other courses. And what is particularly gratifying is that sometimes we have rather weak students who aren't particularly interested, not doing very well, and this course completely wakes them up, and sometimes they do really well. They just haven't really been interested in what's been going on before, but when you give them real problems to think about, they wake up and they're so interested and they do really well. So that's a particularly gratifying aspect of it. I just slightly alter things year to year. I mean, for example, at the beginning of the problem, when I've just given them the problem, I ask them to just brainstorm for 5 minutes to just sort of say how they think they're going to tackle it. And I found that tended to be perhaps 1 or 2 people really dominating the situation. And so now I give them a whiteboard. They have a sort of A1 size whiteboard, and they all get around the whiteboard and they've all got a pen, and that's much more inclusive now, and they can all have a go. And something I also introduced into the course based on some feedback from the female students was that I wanted to make sure everybody had a go at being the leader, because otherwise you do tend to get one person being the leader in the first session, and then that's that for the rest of the course. So now I authorise at the beginning of the first 4 weeks, I say who's going to be the leader of each group, and everybody gets a go. And that is very powerful, and a lot of the students mention that they realise now that they've had a go at leadership, that actually they're not bad at it and they could do it. They really appreciate the opportunity to be given the chance to do it themselves. Basically the format works pretty well. The only thing that I keep tweaking is that I give them some homework before each session, so they have a week to just have a look at roughly the area they're going to be working in, just to remind themselves, and I give them some homework. If I mark it, they all do it. If I don't mark it, they don't do it. And I would love them to just do it without having to be given marks. And I've tried marking, not marking, marking some of it, not marking the rest, and it's just, I'm afraid, even though they know it would be so useful, they won't do it unless you give them marks, which is very disappointing. I found, and this is purely by chance, because we have computer labs that seat 40, so I divided our groups up into groups of 40, and that's about the right size. If there's a group of 40, I can just every now and then I go around and I ask them all how they're getting on, and I can keep an eye on them. I don't think I could do that with any more. But that many, all in a group, all working on the same problem at the same time, has a really lovely buzz. And I think that is just by chance I hit upon the right size. So about 40 people in a room, and then groups of 4. And I don't think that 5 works, and I don't think that 3 works. I think 4 is just the right size. So I strongly recommend that. And then it all boils down to coming up with really good problems, coming up with things that just have some hook that the students find interesting. So if you can make it something that's newsworthy, something that has a local connection, if you can get someone, a former student, to come in and talk about what they're doing, or a researcher from your own department, so they have that connection with a real person, rather than it being perhaps a grand challenge that can seem overwhelmingly huge and what's the point. I think that's a really important thing. It's coming up with exciting problems.